Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Supply Chain Disruption and Content Marketing, episode 7. So, this week we got into a bit more detail as to what you can do to improve your strategic vision, execute that vision, and be able to deliver from both a supply chain perspective, which is where my favorite parts of the industry reside, as well as from a content marketing perspective. Now, for those who don't know, in recent months, we revamped the entirety of Jason's Creations Inc. to become JCI Marketing, and we have taken the initiative to add additional channels, improving our outreach, refining our messaging, and really ensuring that our strategy is well aligned for our growth trajectory. Simply saying we want to grow fivefold in the next 4 years is challenging. We have to know what are our stepping stones? What are we going to do to get there? And this week's chapter, The Nine Derailers of Strategy by Ben Pring, really helps us to achieve those goals. I think that when we start thinking about strategy, it is an exhaustive process. Now, I can sit and talk about strategy all day, and I can define most of what needs to happen. But there are many things that may pop up that can make it challenging to implement. We have strategic challenges. Is the company culture going to actually support it? Is leadership going to support it? Will leadership back one another up? Because you know what? Let's face it. No matter what an organization looks like from the outside, there are definitely conversations going on where one particular leader might be having a bad day and the other leader acts as a balancing force. Kevin, you and I have this conversation very frequently,
Yeah.
um, including a few minutes ago, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So, it's just the reality of
Yeah.
today's industry. There is a constant degree of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, VUCA, throughout all businesses, and it's not
Yeah.
going to change. The only thing we can do is look to the future and start thinking about what are our strategic challenges, what are our tactical challenges, what are the things we can do, and what are those intangible challenges. What are the things that they're not really a true problem, but there's actually a problem there. You just can't feel it, touch it, or see it. So, to kind of kick us off, I think that I've kind of covered a bit about our overall goal. Kevin, would you kind of start telling us a bit about what you found insightful from this chapter around
Yeah.
strategic challenges?
Yeah. Man, I before we get there, I just think it's really interesting how often, or it's like every week now, we are me and you are put into, oh, these are the things that we were talking about, and it's completely unplanned. But every week the things that we're reading in this are the things that we just happen to be talking about in our day to day. And this is right up that alley. So you are always talking about the strategic stuff. I'm always talking about the tangible things. And then we were just talking, what was it, Monday, about the intangible stuff. So I just find that
Yeah,
hilarious. Um,
definitely.
what did you want me to talk about again?
Just the strategic, a bit about the strategic challenges. For example, the visible
Mm,
leadership, where we talked a bit about. It mentions, it's a vision but not visionary. That
yeah.
one was the first derailer, and I thought that that was something neat to kind of talk about. It has to take those abstract ideas and make them tangible. The vision must be inspirational and motivating and must resonate with both the most sophisticated in the audience and the novice. And
Yeah.
I kind of found that impactful when you think about what we are doing from a marketing standpoint, because you know what? It's easy for us to go into the weeds and explain the most far-fetched of details.
Yeah.
The reality is that you have to think about the actual audience,
Yeah.
because reality is you might have 20-year veterans in your audience. You might have someone who this is their first job out of college after having worked at Bank of America for years.
Yeah.
So you really have to make sure that your strategy is in place, that it is visionary, and you have to figure out what is the thing that's going to make it visionary. That means
Yeah.
you have to go beyond your comfort zone. You it models an EOS principle that I love, which is, you know, growth occurs when you are uncomfortable. So to all of these companies that are uncomfortable, worried, and concerned, now is the opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
It is the most pressing time. You know, we've seen some bad things happen recently. You know, last week we got the news about Convoy. They shut down, canceled all shipments, and there is worry in the market broadly. But there is hope. Estes Express Lines brought all their systems fully back operational yesterday.
Wow.
So there is a lot of good things happening, and there are lessons that we can learn from those companies that prioritized technology, that prioritized acquisitions. And you can apply those principles to ensure that you are able to go beyond your comfort zone, ensure your vision aligns with what you actually want to do. It should be your vision, not some other company's vision. And then developing a strategy for the organization, because your strategy for your organization is perhaps one of the most important things you can do.
Yeah.
Because your strategy for your organization, it's easy to make it complex, but you have to simplify it, because it's only with a simple strategy. Now, that doesn't mean your strategy is not 40 pages long. What it means is your strategy is not 4 million pages long.
Yeah.
um, because even a simple strategy is still very complex. The
Yeah.
trick is knowing that balance. And would you like to speak a bit about that?
Yeah, and I'm trying to find where the quote is, but something that I was reading this morning from it, where they were talking about um, a lot of people don't want to repeat themselves, but
Mhm.
being in leadership means you're repeating yourself
Yes,
over and over and over again. And while that is obviously true for communicating culture, which is what we're trying to do on a daily basis, we have identified what we want our culture to be, and we are trying to communicate it over and over and over again until uh, other people could repeat it back to us without without having to prompt them. They would just know it. They would be able to repeat it back. And isn't that the same thing that our clients are trying to do with their audience? You know,
exactly.
in content marketing, it's the exact same thing. You want to be able to communicate those pain points and the solutions over and over and over again until your audience just knows that you're the one. You know, they have problems, they know you have a solution. And we were talking about this the other day. We call that you're in the consideration phase of the buyer's journey. They already know who you are, they already know what you can do, and it's just waiting until they can actually bite, right? and
Exactly.
and and make a decision. But it's on you to communicate that over and over and over again, and that's part of that part of both strategy, knowing what it is and having a plan for it, but that's also adding in the tactical side, which we'll get to in a bit, of making it actionable. Which, you know, you mentioned one of the EOS principles, but that's those SMART goals. You know, that's exactly what it is. You have to be strategic, but you also need to make it, you know, actionable and tangible.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, one of the ELS principles was everyone has a number.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have my number that I am constantly watching for both myself in a company. And then I have a number that I am watching across all of our clients. You have a number too, Kevin. Your number revolves around the number of marketing SQLs that we are generating that
Yeah.
come from our MQL database. Each of our employees has a number, their productivity score. And in EOS, one of the funniest things I ever heard was when they mentioned one of the people that Gino Wickman interviewed was the how when he was visiting with his receptionist and they were trying to figure out what her number would be. They could not figure out what was going to be the one measurable that would say if she was doing her job properly or not. At the end, it turned out to be the number two, and it was for the number of rings that the phone would do. If it rang twice and she picked it up, good. If it hit a third ring, it was bad. And I found it kind of comical because, in the age of technology, yeah, sure, we can all track how many rings there are. But I thought about it from the view of this company that was mentioning it, that it occurred back, when landlines were still very prominent. Land lines, not land loans. And, just to think about the idea of like if you hear the phone ring three times, it means someone is not doing their job. I found that kind of comical and a bit of a relief, but also, knowledge that yes, things do have to be measurable, but they don't have to be measurable to the point of you're measuring your ability to measure them and getting lost in the chaos. Because just me saying that right now and imagining it made my head hurt.
Yeah.
So I think that there really is a degree of flexibility we have to have. We have to have a true plan of how we're going to get from A to B and then to C and then back to B and all of these different steps where in reality we need to get from A right here to A down the block. But the only way to do that was to go around because it's a detour.
And that reminds me of it's the solution 6. We were talking about that earlier. Of everyone loves to talk about the strategy part. Love doing the strategy, not the logistics part, not the actually getting your hands dirty and getting it done. We spend a lot of time talking big picture stuff. That's always fun, right? We get to dream. But to actually dive in and do the thing, man, that's the part that no one likes to do. We'd like to talk about all the numbers. What are the numbers? And we can spend way too much time talking about what the numbers are going to be. But what are we doing to actually achieve those goals? If we spend too much time on the strategy, we're not doing enough of the thing. So
yes. And that kind of reminds me of when we filled out our own buyer's journey, because I remember it was like a 4-hour conversation where we were digging into it, and at the end of it I was like, Kevin, I am dead inside. Like, I have nothing more to give today. And I was like looking at it, I'm like, I can sit and discuss this, but sitting here putting it down on paper does take energy. And we have to really approach it from that view, no matter where you're at. In the supply chain, oftentimes that might come in the form of strategic partnerships. It could exist in trying to figure out what is a new focused segment group you're going to go after, or what is a new market, or how can you better segment your contact lists to talk to the right people. In content marketing, you also have the same factors at play, because now not only do you have that information, but you have to have the content to support it. And that role of content production really takes on a whole new meaning, because all too often we hear marketing is working this stuff and we hear sales is working this stuff. At Jason's Creations, marketing and sales have to be one and the same to succeed for us as a company. And we very much take a similar approach with our clients, where we recognize that marketing is the natural other side of the coin to sales. Because if you don't have one, you can't have the other. You could, theoretically, but it's going to be hard. And of course, without sales, there is no budget for marketing. So that's just, the reality of it. If there's no money coming in, there's nothing to fill your cup. So
they actually call that, it's where is it? It's the inbound marketing flywheel, I believe is what it's called, where it mirrors, I'm trying to find it, I have a graphic somewhere for it, but it's the sales, marketing, and service. Everything kind of falls into one of those categories. I
think it's the one from HubSpot, correct? Where it talks a bit about, I could show it here. I have it if you'd like.
If we're going to talk about it, might as well show it.
Let's get this up. Now, bear with me. Things are challenging with technology at times. So
There we
this is the
go.
flywheel. You have to attract attention. You have to engage that attention. Then you have to delight them to where they cannot view a future without you. And when those things come together, it continues and builds in a self fulfilling cycle. You also have to recognize that even once you have, that point where they are delighted, you still need to attract them. You still need to, deliver. And that's where you kind of move from a marketing into sales, into service, into upselling, into marketing for those upselling, into service, and making it grow. And when you look at the things to do for strategy, looking at this flywheel, it's easy to say, well, I don't know what to do for each of these. And it can be challenging, especially when you look at it from different views. Now, as a content marketer, I have the benefit of looking at this and saying, okay, we're going to, get their attention. Then we're going to offer something that they can't live without so we can get their attention. We're going to create high touch assets. We're going to get their contact information. We're going to show them the proof is in the pudding, and then we will, be able to close them. But for companies that maybe have a limited marketing team, or maybe they just don't have marketing resources, knowing what to do for each of these stages can really create some intangible problems. There's a problem there. You need to do something with marketing, but you're not sure what that is. And that's where you can really, start looking at the real opportunities that exist when you choose to outsource your content marketing efforts versus keeping it in-house. So Kevin, don't take the common foe one because I want to do that one.
Okay.
But maybe the point in tangible challenges where it says becoming bored of the vision before the mission is accomplished. That's the one where it's important to do. I think that's the one that we have in our bullets of consistent communication.
Hey, where is it again?
Toward the end of our materials, where consistent communication, the solution for number 8.
Okay. Let me read it real quick. Hang on, let me refresh my memory.
Well, I will, while you're kind of taking a look at that, I'm going to point out, one of those things is a derailer 7, which is no common cause, no common foe. No matter where you believe your organization is at, you must name a common foe. This is very important in content marketing because there is a phrase I like to say from my experience as a freelance writer, as well as transforming it into a true marketing agency, which is everything that has been said or that can be said has been said. The trick is figuring out a way to re-say it and make it look new.
Yeah.
So in content marketing, it's very important that you identify who the most likely competitor is so that you can at least have a starting point to know where you can surpass them, where you can attract clients that surpass them, where you can engage those contacts beyond their current level of engagement with your competitor, as well as provide service that goes beyond that. Now, that can exist in many forms. It could be lower price points. It could be industry expertise. It could be a willingness to go the distance, not to quote Disney and Hercules, but we really want to have your plan have a common foe. You need to know what it is you're going up against.
Yeah.
And that is really important and leads us directly into the point of you also have to make sure that your vision is fresh. We every week meet and discuss our vision to understand how are we going to accomplish this mission, because the reality is that sometimes what we thought would work doesn't.
Yeah.
So we have to maintain, that rock, that main principle for the quarter to make it to the right outcome. So on the points of, achieving that means we need to be consistent. We need to be consistent in our actions. We need to be consistent in our communication.
Yeah.
And I think you would be a great person to talk about the importance of consistency in communication.
Yeah, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, but the main thing is with it's just the consistency. I talked earlier about how you need to repeat your vision over and over and over again. Whatever the culture is, you need to repeat it over and over again. Those who are in supply chain, or you're trying to create your own content, you have to speak the same things over and over and over again until your target market understands it and is ready to make a decision. That takes time. It's consistent communication over time, despite whatever your expectations are. It doesn't matter what your expectations are. Okay, I know that's a tough pill to swallow, but it's true. Doing it and being consistent will show results over time.
Exactly.
That is a guarantee. It will happen over time. It's the time part that everyone doesn't have clarity on, and they want it to be fast. Well, it's all relative, right? Some people are going to see results immediately. Some people are not. But what we have found is that if you can be consistent with your communication, publishing blogs, doing social posts, interacting with your audience, not just relying on, putting a blog out there and hoping that people find it on Google, but like actually engaging and sharing, right? And using the content as a tool to engage with people who are your target market. If you can do that over time, we usually see really good, consistent compounding results starting about a year to a year and a half. That's right around the time that you start to see really good results. And we've actually coined that the self-sustaining lead generation engine or something like that. I forgot what we called it. But if you can do it and you can be consistent, there is a point where you could stop, technically. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could stop and the leads will just keep coming because you've built this foundation that can speak for itself. It's going to keep bringing people in, but if you can keep going and keep the consistency moving forward, it's just going to compound over and over and over again. And you'll see great results, but it takes time and it requires patience.
Yes, it most certainly does. That is one of the things that I think is perhaps maybe even the most important thing to know, is that you have to stick at it.
Yeah.
There are outliers out there, and there are a ton of companies that will claim we will bring you, 600 leads by tomorrow. Yeah. Well, the reality is if they are doing that, you are really just paying for a lead list.
Yeah.
And you are not doing true content marketing. You are not engaging. You're not attracting. You're not engaging. You're not delighting. You are simply, they happen to be at the computer when you reached out, or at their phone. So rather than doing that, you need a approach that's going to, where one day you don't have to spend much time with it.
Yeah.
Because you are faced with two evils, right? You either spend money by doing all of this in-house and doing it yourself, or you spend money and outsource it, knowing that by doing so, you can have your in-house teams focus on the things that are higher priority, know that your content is going to be coming along, and you won't have to worry so much about it.
Yeah.
And then over time, it'll build enough to where theoretically you could get rid of your content and still have leads coming from the old material or older content.
Yeah.
But again, you have to be careful, because in highly competitive industries like the supply chain, there will be another startup. There will be another Convoy. There will be another Yellow. There will be someone else that is going to come, have the funding, and choose to pursue SEO. And what will end up happening is they will surpass you if you do not keep up with your content.
Yeah.
So,
and we were talking about this earlier before we hit record, but the people, if you want high quality content and you're thinking of doing it in-house, the people who can speak with authority on it and they know the subject matter well enough to be high quality, they don't have time or the bandwidth to take it on, because they're, senior leadership positions, subject matter experts who are on the floor, they don't have time to sit and write a blog. There's a lot that goes into it. And that's why it's so much more responsible and cost effective to outsource it. Outsource it to people who know the subject matter, have experts in-house, and already have the system set up to produce the content at scale.
Definitely.
You don't have time, and budget wise, it's not effective to do it in-house. It
Exactly.
just isn't. So
Exactly. It's funny you bring that up, because that is actually a point that we are working on right now for a downloadable for JCI marketing. See, okay, we did the rebranding, and I'm very proud of what we did with rebranding. Kevin, just a total sidebar question. How long does it take a company to do a full rebranding traditionally?
Oh my goodness. It really depends, but it's months usually of planning, strategy, all that stuff. It takes a really long time.
We did Jason's Creation Inc. rebranding in 5 business days. So
That
we
was a
were
little
very
fast.
tired. So um,
I don't recommend that.
we did it because we had everything in order, and this is
Yeah.
what we specialize in. But we had to, kind of call all hands to the floor. We needed everyone. It was a chaotic week, and many of our team members are enjoying some much deserved weeks off in order to ensure that we don't go insane. But we have to do these things. We have to keep up, and we have to make it successful. It's just, what is important is that consistent message. And that kind of brings us home to our final point, which is where it talks about the messenger is better than the message. It reminds me of something that I was told long time ago involving sales, which is the best salesperson can sell anything. That might be true. But if you don't have that high quality message, that high quality product, you're going to turn around and have upset customers. You're going to have backlash, and you're going to have pushback. Actually, backlash and pushback might be the same word. I don't know. Remind me to check in the dictionary later. But
they're similar. They're adjacent of each other.
Well, they're similar, but to me, I imagine of like backlash is like people are angry.
Yeah.
Pushback is people are angry and coming. So that's how I view it. It's like, so that's just my own personal view on it and how I like to view things. But I really think that there are a lot of great opportunities that came out of this chapter. This particular chapter inside of Certain Uncertainty, which, I almost did it again. I was going to show the blue book. I have the cover downstairs. This particular chapter really provides you a rubric of what you can watch for as things that will derail your strategy and how you can keep them from actually doing that. I think that there's a lot of opportunity. I think that we can definitely see success, and I know that part of that starts with believing that your organization can achieve that same level of success with the right partnerships. In the supply chain, that might mean partnerships with a variety of companies. But it is very important that you also remember the value of partnerships with certain vendors like JCI Marketing, our team, and what we can do for you. So, Kevin, do you have any final thoughts on this?
Oh yeah, man. It is interesting how the same concepts and principles that we're talking about here apply to every little bit of it, whether you're a leader in the supply chain, whether you're in-house, a marketing manager or director of marketing, or just a leader in a company in general, not in marketing or supply chain. If you can have a more holistic approach to the strategic alignment, right? If you can have the vision, and if you can communicate that vision and create a plan to execute on that vision, There's parallels all over the place. But it doesn't matter where you are. You will have success. It may just take time, but you can be more effective and decrease the amount of time that it takes with getting things off of your plate. So whether that's someone in-house or having different vendors or partners to come alongside you and bear the burden with you, that's where you can better execute on that vision.
Definitely. Well, Kevin, I definitely think that this was a great conversation. I look forward to next week's episode. I can't believe we are about to hit week 8 of us doing this.
Yeah, man.
It is amazing to think about that, really. Next week, we're going to talk about radical empathy, how to craft effective communications about change. So if you're
Awesome.
going through a rebrand, if you're trying to figure out your next step in content marketing, so we're going to talk about how can you be clear about it, how can you be effective about it, and what does radical empathy really mean? Because when anyone talks about change, what most people hear is your job's on the line. So let's get started and prepare for a success next week. I invite you all to join us again at 11:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time.
Central Standard. I don't know.
Central Standard Time. Okay, well,
One of those. It's Central.
Yeah, Central Time, 11 a.m. Central Time. So whether time has gone forward or back by then, who knows? And we will keep the conversation going. If you, excuse me, if you
That
found
scared
this
me.
conversation helpful, be sure and click on our pictures below. DM Kevin, DM me, or feel free to visit us at jci-marketing.com. Thanks and have a great day.